Most people meet Traverse City in summer. A glass of Riesling, a perfect beach day, packed sidewalks along Front Street. But that version came last. Because before Traverse City was a destination, it had to survive. Before it had tasting rooms, it had timber contracts. Before the postcards, there were saws, docks, fires, and freight. This is the story of Old Town Traverse City, the river that made it possible, the industry that shaped it, and the gritty beginnings hidden beneath the polish. Welcome back to Streets of History. I'm Chris Hubble with History Loves Company. Every week we slow down and walk through Michigan places, not just to admire what's still standing, but to understand why it stands where it does. Because history doesn't always live behind glass. Sometimes it lives in the streets you walk every day. What you're looking at isn't just downtown. This is a harbor town, a settlement built at the mouth of a river, at the head of Grand Traverse Bay, one of the safest and deepest natural harbors on Lake Michigan's eastern shore. And that river is everything, because long before wineries, this was a lumber town. In 1847, a small group led by Horace Boardman arrived here not chasing scenery, but timber. At the time, the river wasn't known as the Boardman River. Early records referred to it as the Ottawa or Ottaway River, and its Ojibwe name, Ottaweezibi, translates to River of Trade. That name isn't poetic, it's practical. If you want to understand Old Town Traverse City, you start with the river, because the river explains everything that came after. Today, the Boardman River feels peaceful, but in the mid-1800s, this was infrastructure. Before railroads reached northern Michigan, before reliable roads, waterways were highways. Logs floated downstream. Supplies came in by ship. Finished lumber left by ship. The first sawmill went up here in 1847, near the river's mouth. By 1852, the settlement officially took the name Traverse City, borrowed from the French phrase La Grande Traverse, the long crossing of the bay. For years, this place remained isolated. Historical accounts note that until the 1860s, Traverse City was most easily reached by water. That isolation shaped everything: how materials arrived, how businesses clustered, where people lived, what kind of buildings were constructed. And when you're surrounded by forest and water, the economy is simple. Cut wood, move wood, sell wood. It's not romantic. It's loud. It's dangerous. And it permanently alters the land. But it builds towns fast. In 1851, the original sawmill operation changed hands. It was purchased by Perry Hanna, along with partners James Morgan and James Lay, forming Hanna Lay and Company. This is the turning point. Perry Hanna is often called the founding father of Traverse City, not because he arrived first, but because he committed. He reinvested profits locally. He expanded industry. He stayed. Under Hanna Lay and Company, Traverse City transitioned from an outpost into a functioning industrial town. Historical records from the Traverse Area Historical Society show rapid development during the 1850s. Steam-powered sawmills, regular Great Lakes steamship services, a formal post office, improved docks and shipping infrastructure. And those milestones matter. A post office turns a camp into a town. Regular shipping turns isolation into connection. Industry turns population into permanence. That's when streets gain purpose. That's when neighborhoods form identities. That's when Old Town begins to take shape. When people say Old Town today, they're often referring to this area, where downtown thins out, where storefronts give way to brick, loading docks, and scale. Just beyond it sits what's commonly called the Warehouse District. Local histories describe it as roughly bounded by Union Street to the east and Gillis Street to the west, adjacent to rail access and the river corridor. Here's the details that matter. Perry Hanna's first home was built here, near present-day Hall Street. Not in the bayfront, not on a grand boulevard, in a working district. Early cities didn't separate beauty from labor. They built where access mattered. Water, rail, materials, men. Old Town became a hinge point between river and streets, between industry and commerce, between work and daily life. This wasn't the polished face of the city. It was the engine. There's another force that reshaped Old Town: fire. In the 19th century, Traverse City, like most towns, was built almost entirely out of wood. Buildings packed tightly together, open flames, industrial heat. In 1896, a devastating fire tore through downtown, destroying blocks of commercial buildings. After a fire like that, a city has to make a decision. Wood is fast, brick is expensive. Brick means permanence, and Traverse City chose brick. That's why so many downtown structures feature heavy masonry, arched windows, and late 19th century commercial detailing. Fire doesn't just destroy, it clarifies. It forces towns to decide whether they're temporary or built to last. Old Town feels walkable today because it was never designed for cars. It was designed for movement. People, goods, waterways, rail. Modern Traverse City has layered growth onto an old street grid, not erased it. Warehouses became restaurants. Work corridors became community corridors. But the proportions remain. The spacing, the scale, the relationship between river and street. You can update a district without deleting its memory. Old Town proves that. Here's what I love about Old Town Traverse City. It doesn't perform for you. It doesn't need to, because it already did the hardest work. Most towns never survive. It found an economy. It built a core. It connected to the outside world. It endured disaster, and it kept enough of itself intact that you can still feel the original city beneath the surface. Traverse City didn't begin as a destination. It began as a lumber town at the mouth of a river. Remote, water-connected, industry-driven. And once you know that, you'll never see these streets the same way again. Because even now, beneath the lights, storefronts, and summer crowds, Old Town still tells the truth. Cities are built by work long before they're enjoyed by visitors. If you want more Michigan stories like this, quiet history hiding in plain sight, subscribe to History Loves Company and tell me in the comments, when you think of Traverse City, what's the first image that comes to mind? Because I promise there's always another layer underneath it. I'm Chris Hubble. This is Streets of History, and this is what we keep.